Another project here. This is a Pye Battery radio. Let's open it up. It's going to need recapping. There's some nice, let's get the camera angle right, there's some nice waxies in this one, so I have powered it up. It does work, but it's pretty distorted, so what I think I'll do is I'll try and figure out how this comes apart. I'm not entirely sure at the moment. There's a couple of bolts underneath the circuit board which hold the handle on, so that might be one way in. And there's also some bolts at the front that hold the printed circuit board in. I think that might be the way I might go. And I have already gently pulled these knobs off, and thankfully they didn't break. There's a problem with this older plastic. So there's a screw there, so I'll gently get the rest off and see if I can figure out how it comes apart. Right, let's just see. Oh, loosen the bolts. Bit of luck. Come on, please come out. Ooh, maybe not. Come out. Come on. Well, not that easily. Ah, there we go. Right, at last. That's better. Remember, I've got the aerial attached. Still in the lid, so I'm going to break that. Oh, I see. Make sure I don't damage that. Well, I can see some of the waxies now, but that one near to the volume control looks like it's going to be a bit difficult to get out without removing the board, so I think it's going to be a case of proceeding to take the bolts off the front. Now realise that I didn't actually have to take the nuts right off here, if I can get the angle right, because they grip onto the front panel, so just loosening them would have sufficed. Never mind, live and learn. Right. Yeah. Slowly but surely. Careful not to scratch the chrome up too much. It is in nice condition. I think just pulling the battery cable through the circuit board that goes to the switch, I think now just about enough room for me to work on this without going any further. I'll have to decide whether I want to go any further or not with the disassembly, but we'll see how I get on. Close up of the circuit board. It's the tuning capacitor. And you can see the oscillator coil and the frequency changer, which is a DK96. It's the first IF with the IF valve, which is a DF96. Moving along, here's the first audio amplifier, which is a DAF96 and also is a diode for detection. And the last valve here is a DL96, which is the audio output. The first three valves have 25 milliamp filaments, which is incredibly low, and the last valve, the audio output, is 50 milliamp, which again is very good. You can see the brown sort of pair drop capacitors I've put in place of the waxies. Put a little bit of grease on the switch and the tuning capacitor, and I've cleaned all the valve sockets and the volume potentiometer. I also checked the resistors and they seem good. A test on the electrolytic at the end there, that came out at half an ohm ESR and 8 microfarads, so I've decided to leave that in position. Lacking a capacitor tester to test these 350 volt capacitors, I decided I might have to do another method to test them. I've got an insulation tester, but that's 500 volts. Very simple test I've done, and it interestingly shows how leaky they are even at 30 volts. Let's connect the power supply up in series with the capacitor and then connect it to my bench power supply. The bench power supply has a resistance of 10 mega ohms, and looking at with just over 15, that means that the resistance of the capacitor must be just under 10 mega ohms. So even though I'm not testing at full voltage, it's certainly showing that they're very, very leaky, and no doubt the grids were being pushed very positive as they have 10 mega ohm bypasses. I'm just in the process of just checking the IF alignment, and I've got the signal generator injecting into the mixer valve, and I've got the oscilloscope across the speaker, and I find it quite easy to adjust. I've got just 10% of modulation at 470 kilohertz. I'm just going to twig each IF and just watch the scope reading for a peak. There we go. I seem to have a little bit of improvement. I've backed off the input now, and it's still more or less the same level, so that's good. That's a good result. I'm now just aligning the front end. I'm coupling in the test signal via this old loop antenna that I had laying around, and I'm just adjusting the oscillator coil just for the best signal. Problem is I've got a nearby AM station, so it's not ideal, but it seems to be working okay. I'm now trimming up on the high side of the band, adjusting a small capacitor on the tuning capacitor to align the local oscillator. The screw was practically welded in, it seems, so a little bit of lubricating spray sorted that out, and also the oscillator coil was exceedingly hard to move as well, and a little bit of heat from my desoldering station managed to shift that one. Being an older radio, it's marked in meters, so it's a 600 kilohertz signal for 500 meters, and at 200 meters you put in a 1.5 megahertz or 1500 kilohertz signal. I've only adjusted it once and it looks pretty spot on, so I don't think I need any further adjustments on the medium wave band. So that's 1500 kilohertz, and that looks pretty spot on, so I think I'll leave the adjustments there. I'm now feeding in a 214 kilohertz signal, and it says it should be 1400 meters. Well, that looks pretty accurate to me. That's pretty good, so nothing needed there. Having set up the local oscillator I should say, I'm now just adjusting the trimmer that adjusts the front end tracking. There we go, that's now set, so I think that completes the front end alignment, so now hopefully I've got a nice sensitive radio. That seems pretty good, because normally I don't hear many stations at the bottom end of the dial, so that seems quite satisfactory. Well, now I've got the radio back together, mounted in its case, and what we have here is a pair of replacement batteries, as it were. The low tension, which is 1.4 nominally, is a couple of C cells, and the 90 volts is produced by an inverter. running from 9 volts, and that produces about 80 volts. The only problem I found is that the tuning capacitor catches the battery when putting the lid down, so it's a little bit tight for my liking, but I'll just have to be careful when putting the batteries back in. All together now for the Pye P114BQ dual case radio, or attache radio, whatever you want to call it. So let's see if it works. Fingers crossed. Just open the lid. When I open the lid, it should turn on the HT in low tension. Excellent. That seems to be working well. Excellent. There we go then. Thanks for watching.